It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here, our 4th of July Eve show, and we've got some stuff to talk about, including 19H2. Finally, it turns out Mary Jo was right. What is Microsoft 365? And Cuphead, the delicious, what was it, Delicious Lunch Center? Stay tuned, we'll find out.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 628, recorded Wednesday, July 3rd, 2019. Time for toast. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology's Advanced Technology Center is like no other testing and research lab, with more than $500 million of equipment, including OEMs like NetApp. And it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all that it offers, go to wwt.com/twit. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show we cover the latest Microsoft news from Redmond. This just in from Redmond, Washington. Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com. Mary Jo Foley of AllAboutMicrosoft.com. Together, they make the dynamic duo of Windows journalism. Hello, Paul. Hello, Mary Jo. I don't know what came over me.
Hello, radio announcer.
Hello, radio announcer.
Hemingway in the Spanish War, whatever that was called.
I should have never had that fourth cup of coffee. That was the problem.
This has been a rough start for everybody.
It is.
Yeah. So for people who are listening to the show and don't know it, we had to do the whole show over again. we got way into the show, and then I was informed that we'd run out of tape. So we're starting over. And it's hard to really...
we have good news to start with.
Oh, good, Paul. As if I didn't know. What's the good news?
Wait, let me use my joke from before. I don't get to say this very much, but Mary Jo was right.
Mary Jo was right?
Killed the first time.
Yes.
She's buffing up her nail. What were you right about?
So this week we finally got the first build of Windows 10 19H2. And as my sources have been saying for a few months, it's going to be a very minor release. It's a cumulative update to 1903, basically.
Okay, I don't want to rain on your parade, Mary Jo, but I don't really understand what you just said. So 19H2, what's that?
So 19H2 is the version of Windows 10, the feature update that's going to be coming out around October this year.
All right.
I remember we skipped ahead and everybody started testing 20H1, and then we were like, wait, where's 19H2? And some people thought it was not going to ever show up.
By the way, that was over 3 months ago.
It was a little weird.
It was exactly.
And we speculated, maybe it's the new Linux subsystem for Windows that they couldn't test. So the new numbering scheme, part of this is confusing because it's not a new numbering scheme. 1903, which is the most recent version of the Windows 10 update, is for 2019, the third month, March. So that's why it came out in May. Yeah. And then normally we had 1809. So normally we have 1909, which would be for September in this year.
Do you know why they switched?
Yes. Well, go ahead. Tell us, Paul, because I think this is hysterical.
I believe it's because the next one after that would have been 2003.
Windows 2003.
Which was the release of a version of Windows Server in the year 2003, 17 years earlier.
But you know what? IT pros are still going to call it 2003, I bet.
I think 19H2 and 20H1 is actually a better... They don't give them real names, though. They learned from the anniversary update that naming this is a bad idea, right?
Well, they call the 1903 one the May update, which does make it super confusing. And I bet the fall one will be the September update.
Why don't we just do spring and fall? Let's just do...
Yeah. Well, then people who aren't in our hemisphere say that's super confusing.
I think we have neatly encapsulated the problem here. No one is happy with any of it.
Can't win. That's right, because it's spring in Australia, and when it's fall here. So, golly, I guess you're stuck with this kind of weird 19H2.
We are.
Which honestly, it sounds like a flu virus. It really doesn't. It's not.
Yeah, it does. Right. But it's still, it's in some ways it's better than the 1903 style name. because it gives them wiggle room on the date. They come under constant criticism for not, like you just made a joke about it, which everyone does. 1903, which stands for March, obviously, and they released it in May. And that's what they've been doing. So they've never hit the date. So why be so exact?
Yeah.
Right.
First half. That's good. That's good enough.
Yeah. So when we say it's a cumulative update, we just basically mean it's a very minor update. And if you have 1903 already, you're going to just be able to apply it like you would any kind of a cumulative update that comes out to Windows 10, instead of treating it like a whole separate big new thing.
Right.
So
well, by the way, instead of it being a separate whole giant big thing, right? Because a cumulative update literally is just is the same thing they ship every month. So it's one of those possibilities we had raised last week. Yeah. That this release is essentially 1903 plus all the cumes plus whatever updates are.
So the thing Mary Jo was right about is that it's that it wasn't that it's coming, but that it was.
Yes, and also that she had in discussing Microsoft's twice yearly feature update schedule, which is just terrible. What Mary Jo had been calling on, I think, for the past year or so was like, why not just do an R2 style release? Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what this thing is, right?
Do you think this is going to be the new normal?
Okay, so that's a great question. And we asked, of course, would you like to hear the answer to that?
But of course.
The official answer?
No, I don't want to hear it.
You're not going to like it, so yes.
No, you want to hear it because it's kind of hilarious.
Okay.
So I said, okay, is this the new normal? Is Microsoft going to now go major, minor, and every H2 will be minor and every H1 will be major?
Yeah, TikTok.
So you'd think the answer could just be yes or no, or we don't know. But here's the answer. Given the scope of the 19H2 release, we're taking the opportunity to try something new in an effort to continue to improve Windows 10 update experience. This may provide us future flexibility to offer a balanced range of Windows 10 feature update delivery methods, including OS swaps, as well as servicing technology like the monthly update process.
I could translate that. I could translate that.
That's the answer.
Well, yep. I don't know.
Yep, that's my guess.
Here's the right. So here's the thing. There's two ways to look at what you just said. What they said, you just repeated. One is that also suggests that 20H1 is going to be a fairly major release, right? And that they had nothing for 19H2 for whatever reason. The other one is that the credible response to that would say, hey, look, this is what we're doing this year. Here's why. We'll look at the feedback we get and see and what happens. I fully expect that this is the new normal. And if it isn't, it's what Microsoft should be doing. It's the right thing to do.
And who was super happy about hearing this week's news? Many IT pros, because for them, this is awesome, right? This is what they wanted. This is the second half release. If you're an education or an enterprise customer, is the one that gets 30 months of support. Exactly. So if you're an IT pro, you want that one to be really small and minor and have features off by default. You want it to be really rock solid.
Which is why I think this is going to be the new normal, because they can tie it to that.
Right. But they didn't say it is. So
well, remember how weird it was back in April when all of a sudden people in the fast ring were going to be testing not the next version of Windows 10, but the one after that. Now they need different words to describe this, because it's not like the next version they're testing. It is in fact the next feature update. We literally, and this is what kills me, is they knew this in April. Realistically speaking, what the fast ring has not changed. They are testing the next feature update of Windows 10. It's just that it's not coming out in the fall. It's coming out the following spring. That changed. And what it changed to was that scheme that you had been talking about, this notion of an R2 or a service pack style release. And now it is what we expected. It's going to be in the slow ring, and that makes tons of sense. It's a great idea.
It does.
They should do this every year.
Puzzling? It's puzzling. So how Microsoft loves to say things are by customer feedback. Like this comes up every time they do something or backtrack or make a change. It's like, we listen to customers. They didn't say that this time, which you would think they would love to say, like, we knew the IT pros weren't loving this. So, we listened and we're making some adjustments. They never said that. So that's what kind of makes me think that there's a outside chance this is not the new normal, and it might just be an aberration that had to do with combining the Windows engineering team and the Azure engineering team and trying to figure out how to mush their new schedules together.
Oh, I hope not.
Look, we've gone over this so many times. The notion that a legacy desktop platform like Windows needs to have a major upgrade twice every single year is beyond ludicrous. In a world in which modern mobile platforms are only updated in that fashion one time a year.
Yeah.
This system makes no sense. The thing they're doing this year makes sense.
It does.
It is a wonderful plan. Yep. It's the right plan.
Here's another thing we don't know, which is kind of funny. So I also asked them, so is the way you're going to test going forward to have Fast Ring test the H1 builds and have Slow and Release Preview test the H2? And they would not answer that.
Yeah. That's what's happening.
That also seems like a good idea, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's the current system, right? And it as with the release schedule, it's the right system. It is the right system.
Yeah.
And spreading out a feature update over a year makes tons of sense. Not because you can tack more crap onto it, but because it will give us a longer time to test things that are major changes.
Right. So
yeah, and I like the idea. This is so Apple's done this a number of times, not in a scheduled fashion, but they've said with iOS and macOS, yeah, we're going to make this next update really be about fixing stuff, polishing it, improving performance, and I think that that's a natural cycle because you do all these updates. Yeah, it introduces problems, bugs. You want to refine it over time, and maybe do a big patch update later that year, and then a fresh year. And do the teams the way does Microsoft work with staggered teams, or is it all one team? Like, is there a team working on H2 and then a team working on H1 separate, or?
I think it's one.
It's one team.
I think it is, but I'm not positive.
It used to be separate teams for service packs.
Yep.
I don't know, but that model, that thing you just said is interesting. I think when Apple took a step back with the previous iOS version and said we're going to focus on performance and the battery life stuff, I think people really, I know, but I think users really appreciated it.
Oh, absolutely.
But the big difference between iOS and Apple and Microsoft and Windows is that Microsoft and Windows have corporate customers that rely on these support life cycles.
Right.
And that's why what Microsoft is doing is even more important in a way, because with a consumer device like an iPhone, X number of iPhones will always be supported on, the new version of iOS, however that works. So you're getting a new version every year, basically, whether it's big or small, whatever, you're going to get it. Corporate customers at Microsoft have, depending on which version they install, and depending actually on the relationship they have with Microsoft in some cases, have different time frames for running that version of Windows that they've chosen. So this, again, I'm going to have to keep repeating myself. I mean, this change is so important and is so good. And it would be a shame if they went back to the old system.
And I don't want to be that guy, but I am. Bring Linux into the show.
That guy.
One more time.
Oh, jeez. Nobody wants that guy, Leo.
Well, they're aping. What's really interesting is they're actually aping Ubuntu's cycles.
Yeah, that's right.
So Ubuntu does a spring release. They did 1904. Then they'll do a fall release, 1910. Typically,
one of them is like a long-term servicing.
Right. Typically, one of them is LTS. So that means if you want stability, like you're running a business or something, you stay with the LTS. If you want the latest, greatest, and you're willing to take, maybe some chances, you'll do the next update. But you'll wait for the LTSs if you want stability.
So what is the support time frame for a Linux or an Ubuntu LTS release? It's pretty long, isn't it?
It's 2 years, I mean, like, once it comes out, how long will it be supported?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 2 years.
Because there's no notion of, like, forced upgrades in the Linux world.
Oh, God, no. I mean, it's a free operating system. The forced upgrade would be, I think I'll use Arch instead. So, no, I'm sorry, 3 years. So LTS is 3 years, which is actually the right amount of time, I think.
Okay, that makes sense. So Microsoft is getting close to that, right? 30 months is an interesting number of months or whatever, because typically in the old days, before Windows 10, there would be a new version of Windows every 3 years. And so 30 months is, 2.5 years, basically. But the support life cycle of those products was 10 years.
Right. And, so let me be clear. They'll put out a new LTS every 2 years, but any LTS is supported for 3 years, not 10.
Okay. 3 years, yeah. Yep.
Right. Because we have the notion, we have LTS LTC, long-term servicing channel, which we probably don't want to bring in here because it'll just add more confusion.
Yeah, too many S's in LTC.
Well, that's what I meant. Depending on your relationship with Microsoft, you actually do have other options. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're doing server, by the way, you get 5 years. Ubuntu server is 5 years. I'm looking at their wiki now. Oh, wait a minute.
I should throw that in,
starting with
too.
1204, both versions get 5 years. So it's 5 years.
Okay.
In
For
5
both.
years, there aren't even going to be any more servers. Who cares? You know, like, I mean,
Yeah, I think that's really...
I had someone ask me today if this new normal, quote unquote, applies to server also, and I have the question in and no answer yet to that.
Yeah.
You would assume, but...
I could imagine that it is, but they don't want to commit.
Yeah.
Or something.
well, that's why the Weasley thing I said before would have made more sense, which is, look, we're going to take this opportunity to do what we're doing. We're going to gather feedback. We're going to see how this goes, and we'll reevaluate it. And that's all you need to say. You don't have to say, by the end of the summer, we'll let you know, or on this particular date or whatever. You don't have to, but, just even given the indication that it's something you're considering, I think is perfectly fine to do if you are, I guess. If you're not, if you know you're not, you can simply say, no, that's not our plan at this time.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. One more time I have to fix this because now I'm looking at the table. So, 1804.
Sounding more like Windows.
Yeah, it is. It's as bad as Windows. Literally, wait till you hear this. 1804, which is Ubuntu Bionic Beaver.
Are you serious?
Yeah. End of standard support is 2023. End of life is 2028. So it's 10 years for end of life. That's very much like Microsoft, right? But
right.
Yeah, but it used to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, that's 1804, 1810, which is Cosmic Cuttlefish, is an interim release. And then 1904, which is Disco Dingo, another interim release.
I think I figured out why no one takes this company seriously.
Well, we didn't mention
the clown nose.
Trusty Tar or Xenial Xerius. Yeah, they actually have gone all the way through the alphabet. They
just like those mystery books, like M is for murder or whatever.
Yeah. So they had to start over at Bionic Beaver. I don't know where Avaricious Aardvark went, but so there you go. There you have it. Coming up. Oh, they did have Artful Aardvark. I'm sorry, they did have Artful Aardvark. And Yakety Yak, Wily Werewolf, Vivid Vervet, Utopic Unicorn, and Saucy Salamander.
Anyway.
It is like 1903 and 1909. I'm feeling kind of down.
Yeah, but they give names. I like the names. Maybe they're not serious, but if you want, you can always use the number. H2 19. So we're talking now, and that means it'll be out sometime in the fall.
Yeah, probably.
Actually, they said they were targeting September.
Okay. Yeah, that's RTM, right? When they say that.
They actually if you look at what they said or wrote, the John Cable post, I believe says they're targeting it for release in September. Now that could literally mean release 2, blah blah blah, whatever they call it now.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't call it anything.
I know.
I'm just saying we keep calling it RTM because that's a good term, but
because it was so precise. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is really the right way to do it. I honestly hope they do keep doing this.
Me too. I really hope.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
And I can't think of any reason why they shouldn't. I mean, I know consumers aren't saying, "Oh, where's the next?" I mean, they don't care. What about, is business demanding this? Who's demanding this?
Most business would love this. The only ones I've heard a little dissent is developers, right? Because if you're a developer and you're targeting a new feature that gets introduced, say, in 1903, and then it comes out in 1909, but it's turned off by default, that makes your life a little bit complicated, I would say.
Yeah.
But what, I mean, assuming there's some awesome new feature in 1903 or whatever.
I know. Right. So far, everything we know is small, right? That's shown up in 20H1 that might be backported. So.
Well, that might change, but I guess, we'll see on 20H1. But the old system of updating was almost like a wag the tail kind of thing, because I think the correct question to ask about who was asking for this is about the old way of doing it. I don't know of anyone who was doing it other than it seemed like this is almost like when Microsoft bought Nokia and they had this giant infrastructure that they couldn't afford to keep anymore, and eventually they decided to just get rid of it. I feel like the Windows team in some ways was that giant infrastructure. It was designed for the the days of the past when a lot of stuff went into it and it was a lot of work, and now they're cutting back, and like product groups inside that part of the company are trying to justify their existence, and they're coming up with stuff, and that stuff was released in the creators update, in the fall creators update, and it's just stuff. It's stuff that most people don't need or want, and I think the current system is what makes more sense. Not to mention the fact that in order to just to get that stuff, you had to perform this major upgrade twice every year.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. It was just such a crazy system.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I think consumers are more worried about the end of life of Windows 7 than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah,
for sure.
Totally.
That's what's on their mind, not where's 19H2 or
exactly.
Well, at least for the last 2 or 3 months, they'll be able to run Microsoft Edge. It'll be great. And they can use it to Google, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Or Bing or whatever they use.
Whatever they use. Whatever the kids use today. Can I search for stuff on Snapchat?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'm not a kid.
Yeah.
I don't use Snapchat, but I bet you can.
What's the old adage? Sooner or later, everything becomes an email program.
Yep.
All right. So, how about 1903? I've got people asking me on the radio show, where's my 1903? So that's not fully out either, is it?
It's not even kind of out. It's still in very low single digit.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to start forcing it on people.
No, in fact,
they were supposed to in June.
It's supposedly available to basically everybody, but yeah, it's still 6.3%. It's a big percentage gain over last month, but obviously a tiny figure. The biggest one is 1803, 58%, and then the October update last year, 1809, which is 30%. So those are the 3 big ones, and honestly, I don't know. this switch over to 19H2, assuming the version remains, I don't know if it's going to stay 1903. I mean, that might mean that eventually it becomes very broadly deployed. I guess we'll see how they handle that, but it's been slow. It's been just as slow as the last one.
I know, it has.
Released.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things blocking people from getting it. Drivers, like this week, I think there was something about older Macs can't use it for some reason.
I thought, who cares?
I think it was Chris Sparrow, but somebody on Twitter that I think it was Chris Sparrow. He said, "Let me get this straight."
Yeah.
The 1903 update's being blocked because of this USB bug, but the fix for the USB bug is in 1903. So
right.
How exactly do I get this thing again?
I know.
I'm like, no, you got it right. That's Microsoft. I mean,
and as far as 20H1, they're not done with that either. That's still coming out.
We just got a build today, in fact, right before the holiday of 20H1 for the fast ring.
Wasn't it?
Yep, it was.
Independence Day Eve update.
Plus early in the day for them, right? They usually do these things later in the day.
I think they're trying to hit this show.
Well, no, I think they're trying to hit the parking lot so they can get out of there for a long weekend.
Yeah.
Donna's the car.
Yeah, so this new build that came out, this one doesn't have a ton of stuff in it either. There's some new eye tracking stuff. There's some modifications to how notification settings are in there. If you use your phone,
actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, the notification changes look good, actually.
Yeah.
So when a toast pops up, you can actually turn off your notifications for that app in the toast, which is really useful, actually, because sometimes you're looking for where it is.
Wait a minute. When the toast pops up.
Right.
What do you mean the toast?
There's a notification for an app.
You call that toast?
It's a Microsoft term.
It looks like a piece of toast.
By the way, have you used this before, or is this new to me? Because
this has been the case. Notification toasts have been part of the Windows jargon for 15 years, probably.
I missed that.
You should never have heard it. It's a programming term. It's not something that should ever have come out into the public, but it's.
So that's that little blue box that shows up in the in the lower right-hand corner. That's the toast.
Yeah, well, that's the style of notification. It's a toast.
Yeah.
In other words, a toast is a little piece of rectangular window that slides up.
Can I have a Pop-Tart instead?
Yeah, it pops up like a Pop-Tart.
I think a Pop-Tart would be a much more apt name for it.
All right, we're getting bogged down in this. The point is,
sorry.
if you
Paul
use
just,
Android,
Paul just gonged us, Mary Jo.
He did.
I don't understand. Okay, guys, stay with me on this one. If you're familiar with Android, you know that you can partially slide over a notification, and there's a little gear icon, and you can click on that thing, and you can determine what happens. In other words, you just installed an app, you got a notification, like, I don't want notifications from this app. You can turn it off right from there. That's exactly what this is, just for Windows 10.
So you're saying Windows 10 is taking a cue from Android?
Yeah, I'm sure iOS does the same thing. I'm sure everyone who has notifications has done this for years. But now
I like it. It's so much better because it's like you can just turn it off when you see it, and you don't have to be like, okay, where is this app?
That's how you want to deal with it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Other than that, there was some more things testers in the fast ring can do with your phone on Android and notifications.
No, but I thought that they talked about that as user base wide, or is that you have to be a tester to have the new features?
Actually,
because your phone just had new capabilities, I thought.
I think there's two groups of features.
Oh, okay. I'm confused.
Sorry.
This feature is available to everybody, to answer the question. Oh, okay. It's not tied to 20H1.
Okay.
Right.
And if you're using your phone, you can now get Android notifications on your computer.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Cool.
Mine doesn't work.
Yours, what do you mean?
I think it's because I have the Your Phone app on my Windows 10 on my PC. I have it on my Android phone, which is running 7.0 or later.
Yeah.
But I think only certain Samsung Galaxy and maybe a OnePlus model can do this.
I'm on the OnePlus, and this is what I get. I opened Your Phone Companion, recently updated, like today. See recent photos and send text from your PC. Get started. I press the button. You're all set. And then
you don't look like you're all
done.
set.
And then when I press done, it goes back to get started.
Yep. And people wonder what Microsoft's mobile strategy is.
So
you know what?
It's a little
hard to make this work. It is.
Yeah.
So the reason is you have to get an update to both apps, and those might not happen immediately, right? So there's the Europhone app in the Windows Store or the Microsoft Store, and then there's the Your Phone Companion or whatever the Android app is called as well.
And maybe I need to, because I'm getting them on one phone. So to switch phones, how do I do that?
You should be able to add phones. Like you don't have to switch.
That'd be great.
Like
I'd like to add phones.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll figure it out.
So are you? How do we do that?
This doesn't have to be the Support Leo show again.
Well, let's see.
Let's see.
I remember
this got updated on the
you're doing it correctly. Yeah. In the sense that you should be able to jumpstart that process from the phone. You used to have to do it from Windows 10, and there's still a phone thing in settings.
Bring your phone screen to your phone app and control.
So if you go to Windows settings, Windows key plus I.
Oh no! Oh man! All right.
But you already have the app though. Like it's probably just going to send a text to your phone and have you download the app, but you already have it.
Yeah, I already have it.
Yes, so you don't really need to do this.
I know. Maybe I just don't have the most recent app.
Yeah, they said it would be rolling out over time.
Yeah,
so.
I did get an update to the OnePlus your phone app. I noticed that this morning, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to get this nice new feature.
Right.
Maybe it's not updated on the Surface Go yet, although I just ran updates. Oh, I have to do it in the store though, right? Anyway, enough support of Leo. Continue on. I will mess with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will shout with glee.
When you can see your notifications.
You probably will shout, but it won't be for glee. Because the truth is, most notifications are really annoying.
Oh. Yeah.
You know?
Oh.
Yep.
So you might not want to get those notifications.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Then you're going to be like, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see an update in my store for that, although I am seeing a terminal update for that.
Oh, so now that we're talking about this, maybe it's because it was working on my Surface Go, but it wasn't working on the HP EliteBook because only certain Windows 10 PCs work. I know. I'm looking at you like, because.
Yeah. No, you got it right. I would end the sentence right there.
Because.
I don't know.
Period. Full stop. Because.
Here's the problem. So the thing you just described is a problem that I have, which is that I have multiple. Well, in my case, I have multiple phones, and I also have multiple PCs. And my experience is that it works just fine on some computers with some phones and vice versa. And there's a kind of a weird matrix of it working or not working that I can't explain.
I don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi network or anything, right?
You do.
No.
Oh, you do?
No, you don't.
Yeah,
Doesn't
only
the
have to
phone
be
and the
on-
PC?
Going through the network,
No, you have to
right?
be on. You just have to be on Wi-Fi.
On Wi-Fi, yeah.
And
Oh,
you
really?
can
'Cause-
optionally.
Are you sure?
I'm positive, and
Okay.
you can optionally do it over cell network now if you want to as well.
Right.
But that
Oh, yeah,
won't
that's
burst
right.
in data
Yeah.
charges.
The reason I said,
It
are you
used to
sure,
be.
is yesterday when I was troubleshooting this, it said, make sure your PC and your phone are on the same Wi-Fi.
Oh, I was going to say when it was originally released, they did have to be on the same Wi-Fi, but I don't believe
Maybe I have
that
an
they.
old.
Well, I'm
I
not,
might just have an old
I'm
version.
not, so I'm going to do it again.
Let me see what I wrote in the Windows 10 field guide.
I
guys.
think we need
Yeah.
a book.
If there were only a book about this,
You're all set. You're
you're all
set.
set.
That's all
Okay.
it does. Get started.
Are you,
Still
though?
working on it. Oh, you know what? Now that we're on the same network, it's actually giving me a different thing.
Oh,
So
look at
maybe
that.
you do need to be on the same network, at least for
No,
setup,
you're not,
right?
You're not supposed to, but let me see.
Oh, something happened.
Did it just say that?
What's
Something
that?
happened.
Something happened.
Something always happens.
Something happened. Stuck on this page. Error code 24. That'll help. Okay, that's enough of that.
Jeez, look at that.
That's enough of that.
Yikes.
I mean, you typically are going to be on the same Wi-Fi, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot
Yep.
of Wi-Fi here in the.
okay, but a normal person at home is going to have the one Wi-Fi, and they'll be on the Wi-Fi. But
I'm on.
my understanding is that that's not required. It used to be, but I immediately doubt myself, of course.
So this is the S10, and I did do this before. I was able to get it work on the S10, and you can see I see the S10 here.
Actually, you see it. You see it right there. Notifications.
Yeah, yeah.
You got it.
No, I know, but I wanted to get it working on another phone.
Yeah, but I mean that's the new feature. You have the new feature.
Oh,
on
I do.
That.
Notifications.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Get phone notifications on your PC. Let's get started. We need your phone's permission. Open settings for me. Open settings for me. Open settings. Okay, back to the show.
Oh, it opened.
Oh, it did open.
It only-
Oh my
It only took
goodness.
seven taps.
Oh my goodness gracious. So they are speaking to
All
one
right.
another now.
Look at that.
And I just have to say, yes, your phone companion, see it's right down here. Let's have allow notifications. So what is, now, does that mean I'm going to get toast on my phone?
Oh no, on your computer.
On my computer?
Right.
Oh,
So
future
this
notifications.
is-
This is great. So if I get a notification from the S10, it will show up on my Go.
That's right.
Nice.
Yep.
I didn't want to do it with the OnePlus anyway.
Well, conveniently,
I couldn't. I can't. Okay. That's cool. Nice. Very cool. So that's the new feature, notifications.
Yep.
And
See if you like it.
That was the long way around of saying.
It was.
Yeah, it
But
really was,
you
yeah.
got it working. I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
yeah.
I tried
I-
for a couple hours yesterday and couldn't get
you
it.
are in rarefied company. I got to tell you, it's.
The few, the proud, the people who are able to use your phone companion.
So I would say, as of today, this thing is kind of where it was when they first promised it, right? Plus, a little more so because they also do Android screen, rebooting or whatever that feature's called, mirroring.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is something they had never originally promised. That was something they talked about, I think, last October at the Surface event, right?
Yep.
So it's cool. Like it's actually in a pretty good place, assuming you can get it to work, and
Yep.
you use Android.
I like the feature. I like when it has
I do too.
worked. When it has worked, I like it because sometimes you don't have your phone right next to you, and you get a notification on your phone. Then it's on your PC. It's like, yeah,
So I just took a
Well,
picture.
for me, I mean, aside from the fact that I'm on the computer all day long, I can obviously type a lot better on a computer keyboard
right.
than I can on a phone. So being able to respond to text messages
Mm-hmm.
on the computer is wonderful.
Can't connect to your phone.
You had it. It worked for a second.
No.
So close.
Leo, I can explain this. Notifications works with this phone. The other stuff doesn't work.
So I took a picture of you guys, hoping it would show up in recent photos.
Yeah.
But
But
no.
no.
Let's see
Well,
if the phone screen will work. Connecting to your phone.
Yeah, that should work. Actually, that should work.
Should it? Do I have to do anything
Yep.
special on the phone to get to work? Because that's pretty cool. Check
That
your
is.
phone for a couple permissions. Who the hell wrote
That's
that?
amazing.
A
That is
couple
amazing.
permissions. Oh, what?
That's
So now it says your phone companion will start capturing everything that's displayed on your screen. Check your phone for a couple permissions. What the hell are they talking about? Let's connect through Bluetooth. Confirm the Bluetooth keys on both devices. Okay, I'm going to ask that you... I have to pair them. I'm pairing them.
I've never seen that before.
A couple
what
permissions.
You're doing right now.
Maybe this is a malware. Tap to set up your device.
It's like Wi-Fi was too reliable. Let's try Bluetooth.
Pair device, yes. Yes, connection succeeded. Good. Now my S10 is double paired. It's still working on it.
Now you can configure dynamic lock. You're doing because you're doing mirror.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Oh my goodness gracious. I've always wanted a really thin, narrow screen on my screen.
On your PC, yeah.
Wow.
Actually, can you scroll on the screen and not on the phone?
Oh, on the screen. Oh, like this. Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. So can I play Wizards Unite on my... Wait a minute.
You've completely misunderstood the point of this feature, Leo.
I want to play Harry Potter on my Surface Go, and now I can. Can I make it bigger? I mean, can I do other... I don't know what these little tiny targets are up there. It looks like I can change it to Chinese. That's what I'm looking at. This is cool. I can play Wizards Unite with my mouse. Look at that. I wonder if I'll be better at this with a mouse. There's another unicorn.
I wonder, it's too bad you couldn't change the size because you could hold this thing in portrait and then it would be like a giant phone.
Oh. No, it doesn't. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell happened? Oh. It did something. Oh,
no, it's Surface Go, so it's doing that something slowly.
Oh, Lordy. Wait a minute. Stop it.
And poorly. Actually, there is a full screen button on there. So,
where's that? See,
first
I got to get rid of the menu. Oh, golly. Okay. Now do this. Okay.
Yeah. And whatever. Yeah, you go. In the title bar on the right.
It's kind of slow.
Top. I can't see it on the camera anymore, but there was a little full screen.
Is that full screen? I can't really tell.
Oh no, it isn't. I'm sorry. That's
it looks like I translate to Chinese.
Font or
yeah, it is.
Language,
Type in a different language. Yeah, cancel or close. I think. But see,
that's pretty close.
The latency is pretty bad. See, I can't.
Yeah.
So, but that's I mean, look, you'd be foolish to take an expensive and fancy computer like a Surface Go, and actually, it costs about a half what this Samsung Galaxy S10 cost. So, let me just
to everyone who is listening to this episode and not watching it, I just wanted to apologize for the previous.
I think
show probably
they can kind of guess what's going on from the sounds. So
yeah, right.
It's
like listening to sounds of explosions. I can kind of guess what's going on.
Well, as long as we've alienated the entire radio audience, let's just play this Justin Salvato.
Oh yeah,
because the weird thing about this is, for you at home listening, this will just sound like a clip from the show.
So just so people know, this is from Family Guy. This Bill Gates, well, not really Bill Gates, but they had Bill Gates come on the show, and the wife's father asked him if he could help him give him support for the Zune. And then he said, just kidding, Bill. Like everyone else on Earth, I have an iPod.
Okay, and we'll see what happens next. Okay. Yeah. On the June 26th, 2019 episode of Windows Weekly, Paul took issue with Bill Gates' views on his biggest mistake at Microsoft. You may remember that from our last episode. So let's watch.
The biggest mistake I made in terms of something that was clearly within our skill set. We were clearly the company that should have achieved that. And we didn't. We allowed this Motorola design win and therefore the software momentum to go to Android. And so it became the dominant non-Apple mobile phone operating system globally.
Bill Gates' biggest mistake, you want to know what it really was? It was that this guy never invented anything. All he did was copy and steal from other people that did innovate, and then he just forced them out of the market.
Why you?
Bill tries to beat up.
You just got Thurrott.
Okay, that's the latest contribution to our show.
That was good.
From Justin Salvato. Justin Salvato on Twitter. So I just wanted to alienate the radio audience. all at once.
further.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, now that everything else will make perfect sense, will not require pictures of any kind.
Is that true? Yeah, probably.
So is Cortana getting pushed further aside in Windows 10?
I hope so, Leo.
I'm just reading the notes here. That's all.
Well, so they've already started separating search from Cortana. We knew that was going to happen with 1903, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they used to be tied together, so it would look like you were using Cortana when you were just doing a search.
Right.
No. Yeah. Didn't make a lot of sense. But now
it's the way it used to be.
Right.
Right. Search.
Right. So now Cortana is an app, and it's going to be an app in the store, so it can be updated through the store. But what it is really is one of these quote inbox apps, right? So it means it ships with the OS still, just like
Well,
mail,
is that true?
Right?
I mean, right today
Yep.
it is. I guess what I'm wondering is if that will change in the future.
Yeah, we don't know if it'll change in the future, but for now, as it's going into the store, this beta, I guess there's like a preview or a beta in the store now of this Cortana app. We believe this is still going to stay as an inbox app for now.
Do we?
Yeah, we
royal
do.
we or?
I don't know.
Let me give you the glass half empty view
of which you speak.
Because I agree that's one of the possibilities, right? And and that's if you are a fan of Cortana. And you could make a complaint similar to that made with Microsoft Edge back in the day, that this thing was only updated twice a year. An operating system getting updated twice a year is terrible, but an app getting updated twice a year is terrible for a completely different reason. Those things should be able to get updated whenever they need to be. And so obviously Cortana, for a variety of reasons, hasn't taken off the market, but it hasn't been updated, that much, and it's only been updated twice a year. So this will allow it to be updated more often. But, the other possible outcome here is it still doesn't get updated, but now it's no longer part of the OS. And I think severing this thing from the OS makes tons of sense. It should always have been an inbox app that was also in the store so they could update it.
Yeah.
That's the way it should have been done. If you're going to put Cortana in there, that's the way to do it, just like with Edge. That would have been the right approach.
Agree.
But I don't see a lot of movement on Cortana here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of it in Windows.
So what's confusing is there is momentum with Cortana, but remember at Build we heard what they're doing. They're kind of making it more something that's part of Office 365 and the knowledge substrate, and they're taking the kind of turn-by-turn capabilities and building that in from semantic machines. So Cortana, I don't think is going to go away, but what it's going to become and how it's going to be expressed is going to be different. So my question is then, does that go back to Cortana, the app, or no?
Here's how it's going to be expressed. Rarely.
No, but you know what I think they should do? I think they should rename Cortana, the non-app part of Cortana, the thing they're building in as part of the conversational data, as something else.
Yeah, because it's confusing. You don't have to have voice to use that part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and
technically, you don't have to have voice to use Cortana in Windows today, but
that's true. Yeah.
Well, then what is Cortana?
No,
I think I share with others the misperception that Cortana is a voice assistant. Am I wrong?
So they call it a digital assistant, and if you think about using this on your PC, some people do talk to their PC, I guess, and think they should use Cortana for that. But most people, if you use it on your PC, I would guess you would type.
Nice. This is something Microsoft does all the time. This is very confusing. Because Cortana is different things. And it is absolutely a voice assistant. Started on phones. It's available on PCs.
Yep.
It's available on mobile, actually, through an app. But it's also a bunch of back-end services. And I think what Mary Jo is suggesting is they should change the name of the back-end services to disambiguate this thing. They did the same thing with .NET, right? What was .NET? What was the .NET framework? I mean, it was a runtime environment, but it's also a framework for developers to, it makes it confusing to understand something when you use the same term to describe different things.
Right. It does.
Yeah.
And then you wonder if they leave it as a store app, what does it get used for? Because right now there's only one speaker company that uses it at all, right? Which is Harman Kardon.
Yeah.
Well, but what it should be is the Windows version of the mobile app that's on Android and iOS.
Yeah. And that's what it looks like. The store one looks like that, right? Yeah.
It's the thing that Leo thought it was, like a voice-activated assistant.
But then there's the whole other part of it that is like going to be powered by conversational data, going to be built into Microsoft's productivity apps on the back end. So you're right. There's two things that it refers to, and they should disambiguate. Wow, what
Cortana is just one interface to that personalized data stream. You could type to it too, right? Yes. Or click it.
This is it's too bad they didn't come up with something different. Cortana is actually a pretty cool brand. I think it's a neat name. And it makes as a digital assistant, a voice-activated digital assistant. But the back-end services, whatever they that should be called something else.
It should be called the knowledge substrate. That's what it should be called.
The knowledge substrate. Yes. Okay.
I'm just helping out, guys. If you need branding help, I'm here.
Substrate's a tough word, but yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's the Cortana conversation. Now,
like most conversations with Cortana, rather short.
Single-sided and not very helpful. Hey, I would say Cortana is about the same as Siri.
Except that Siri is used by several hundred million people every day.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as intelligence.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And then there's Amazon's Echo, and then there's Google.
Mm-hmm.
So, Office 365 and Microsoft 365. Who wants to take this one, Paul Thurrott?
Mary Jo.
Mary Jo? Okay.
I'm going to bat it right along. Not it.
So, it's a holiday week, kind of quiet on the news front. But Microsoft did drop this little interesting item, which is they're making changes to Office to get it ready for virtual desktop services, including the Windows Virtual Desktop service. If you remember, Windows Virtual Desktop is their new virtualization service that currently is in preview. And a lot of IT pros are very excited about this service. So in order to make Office work better when you're using it virtually, Microsoft is making changes underneath. And some of those changes involve a company they bought a year or so ago called FS Logics. They bought them in November 2018. So they're taking some of the FS Logics technology, building it into the various Office apps. And they say by doing this, it's going to make remoting these apps work a lot better. So they're working with Teams and Outlook and some of the other Office apps to get it ready for virtualization. That begs the question, when are they going to come out with Windows Virtual Desktop? I had been thinking they might do this next week at Inspire, which is their big partner event. But I've been hearing from some people they think it won't happen until, what's the other show in the fall that I'm just drawing a blank on?
Ignite.
How could I not know Ignite? Yeah, so some people think they might hold it till November for Ignite. I think that would be kind of late to come out with this, especially because they're using this service as kind of a carrot to encourage Windows 7 customers to move to 10. But we'll see. Anyway, Windows Virtual Desktop is getting closer. Office is ready for it. And that's all you really need to know there. I was too succinct.
Sorry.
I can just go straight into the other item I have, which is Microsoft 365. This is kind of an interesting one also.
Yeah. I'm actually really curious about this.
Okay, so Microsoft's new fiscal year starts on July 1. So they just started fiscal 2020 this week. So whenever that happens, there's going to be some reorgs happening inside the company. And they don't like to publicize these unless they have to because of massive layoffs or something. But one of these reorgs I heard about involves the Microsoft 365 marketing team. And if you think about Microsoft 365, which is the bundle of Windows 10, Office 365, and Enterprise Mobility plus Security, right now, when you think about that, it is a bundle that Microsoft wants you to think of as a single product. But that's not really how they take it to market. They take it to market as three things that happen to be sold together as a bundle.
How does Microsoft react when you call it a bundle, Mary Jo? I'm curious. Do you ever hear any feedback on that?
Yes, I have heard feedback that they don't like it. It's not as bad as when I call Chromium-based Edge Credge, but it's still not a pleasant reaction.
Yep.
So they're making some tweaks on the marketing side to try to make it more like they're selling M365 as a single product. They moved some people around. They created a new team called the Microsoft 365 Foundations team, I hear, under Rob Howard. I don't know if you met Rob Howard at Build. I met the guy at Build.
Yes, in a meeting, you mean? Or
yeah, in a meeting.
No, I must. You know what? This was the one I had to cancel at the last minute.
Oh, right.
Oh, no. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I might have. I did speak to Microsoft 365. Okay. Was he the guy that talked about the fluid stuff? Or
yes, he was.
Yeah. Then I'm sorry. I did. Excuse me. I did meet.
Okay. So he, I hear, is the new head of this integrated foundations team, and it's kind of his job to try to bring these together as products. So one of the first things they have to do is create a thing that is an actual developer platform. You know, at Build, they always talk about the Microsoft 365 developer platform. But what does that even mean, right? Is because we know there's a Windows developer platform. We know there's an Office developer platform. His job has been to try to make a consistent story where developers could write to something that they called the Microsoft 365 developer platform. So what's in that? The knowledge substrate that I just talked about a minute ago, which is all that back-end Cortana stuff, the Microsoft Graph, the unified API, the coming Fluid framework, which is that
really the name? The knowledge substrate?
Yeah, that's a real name of something.
Oh, I thought you invented that.
No, I was borrowing it. And of course, Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, all those things pulled together are what they're going to try to create into this thing called the Microsoft 365 developer platform. Then they're also going to have a Microsoft 365 marketing team. That what you would think they would have that already, like a unified marketing team, but I guess they have not. So that team's mission is going to be marketing Microsoft 365 as a single product.
So that is Windows plus, it's everything.
Yeah, it's
Office?
Windows plus Office 365 plus EMS, which is Enterprise Mobility and Security.
Okay. And OneDrive, you get OneDrive with Enterprise.
You get all
Office.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that's
so
nice.
This is the new way they take Windows to market, basically, right? Is as part of this integrated thing.
But it's not for consumers, because I've had people call the radio show saying, what, Microsoft 365? And I just said, oh, you mean Office 365.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they did mean Microsoft 365.
At one point, I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, there will be something called Microsoft 365 Consumer. So there will be a thing like this.
You know, we've often speculated on what that would be, right? Would it be Office 365 plus something, whatever? Yep. You know, increasingly, I'm starting to wonder if they don't just rebrand Office 365 as Microsoft 365. You know,
same. Yep.
There'll be Microsoft 365 Personal and Home.
Yeah, Office probably, especially if it's for personal use, isn't a good term, right? You don't, you know.
No, right, and honestly, right, because for a lot of people, what you're kind of buying there is OneDrive because you want the storage, and you might not even care that much about the Office apps.
Maybe Word, but that's not necessarily an Office app. It's good, you know.
It's just an occasional thing. I mean, you're going to use OneDrive every day, probably. Hopefully, you're backing up your photos with it from your phone and whatever. Microsoft 365 might make more sense. Plus, they can throw in the odd extra service that doesn't fit neatly into Office.
All right, like that thing we keep hearing about, Teams for Life. I think that's basically Teams customized for families, right?
Oh, so interesting.
They're going to try to make you use Teams as a family.
That
would
be
so
thing?
horrible,
Is
by
that
the way.
families relate to each other in a messaging app? And
they'd be like having Slack at home.
Teammates usually undercut each other.
Yeah.
My teammates leave dishes out and don't put them away. Is that
right?
I do notice, though, that Slack I see lots of normal people using Slack, not just for office use.
Yeah.
But like groups.
But do you see them using it in their families?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Wow.
I mean, they also use Discord is very popular. It's a non-office, but it's the same idea. I see people using all sorts of tools like that.
Well, you know what, though? This is a WhatsApp kind of thing. I mean,
it's the modern way of being. The thing is, they're more than WhatsApp. Maybe they aren't. I feel like they're more than WhatsApp.
No, they're definitely more than. But what I mean is they're chat based, right? So
yes,
because my kids are kids, they use Snapchat, and God knows what they're doing on Snapchat.
Parents feel like, if I want to talk to my kids, I need to use messaging.
Well, so but we have forced our kids in a way to use just text messages for this purpose. So when there's a group chat in my family, it's a text message.
Mine too.
Yeah,
mine too.
Yeah.
You know. And I think this is the attempt to modernize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also you would add calendaring.
Right.
Yep.
You would add maybe sharing pictures. I mean, there's some stuff that you might do.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's all share our pictures of the vacation. I don't know. I'm just thinking there might.
Yep.
Sometimes
it'll be like one of the kids or two of the kids are out, or like sometimes my wife and I will be out for an evening, and Kelly will be home and she'll take a picture of something funny the dog is doing or whatever it is.
Right.
And that's how those things
group text it to everybody.
Yeah.
My kids ask for money and group text it to everybody.
See, my kids would do that in a non-group text. And they would only ask their mother.
Yeah, or actually ask everybody individually, and maybe you'll get maybe you'll score 4 times.
Oh, I think most of my family members know that there's only one source of money in this household, and it's not me or my kids.
Yeah, I think this Teams for Life thing could be the anchor if they end up doing. Well, I think they will do Microsoft 365 Consumer, but I think this could be the anchor, because remember that time when they were working on the Family Hub stuff, and they had this idea that everybody would be sharing calendars and messaging and all that. I think this is what they want Microsoft 365 Consumer to be.
They also, remember, they test marketed a couple of holiday seasons. They had it was like a card you bought in, I think, Microsoft stores or online. And it was some combination of Xbox Live Gold with, it kind of changed year to year. They had Groove was part of it. Well, that was still a thing.
Skype credits, right?
Yep. And I don't remember, what the heck was that thing called? I don't even remember. But it seemed like, I remember at the time, like this is like the all-in-one Microsoft subscription, kind of. But it was, the people who bought those things got the individual subscriptions, and then they either faded or continued on their own. But that offering, and I can't think of the name for it. I apologize.
I'm trying to think what that was.
It was a temporary thing. It just kind of came and went.
I think though, if they do Microsoft 365 Consumer, gaming will not be part of this.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I believe that would make the most sense for it not to be part of it, because they have their All Up gaming subscription, and it makes sense for that to be its own thing, and it's fairly expensive, frankly. And like I said earlier, I mean, you take Office 365 and you rename it. That should be the first release, and maybe there'll be that one thing that wouldn't be part of Office 365 Consumer that they'll add to it, and that will be the excuse for the name change.
It was called Work and Play Bundle.
Oh, that's a bad one. Okay, that's not good.
Well, because it combined Office 365 and Xbox Live
Gold. Together at last.
But by the way, since they did that, they now have, I off the top of my head, at least 3 new Xbox subscriptions. And so having a, well, I guess they could do SKUs, but I mean, having a Microsoft 365 or a set of Microsoft 365 subscriptions that added Xbox it would be tough.
It would get messy.
There's just too many different variants of it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Speaking of Xbox.
Yep.
Is this
bunch of stuff?
Is now the time?
Well, I can be quick, Mary Jo. It's
Don't
really
be quick. Let's sit back, relax,
not that dramatic,
and enjoy.
So
the Xbox.
It's the beginning of the month, and so once again we have new games to Xbox Game Pass. We've got the games with gold stuff, new games there. The one thing they're doing with Xbox Game Pass that I really appreciate, remember, it was probably 2 weeks ago in the middle of June when they announced new games for Xbox Game Pass. At the time, they also talked about games that were leaving the service, because that's also what can happen every month. And they've done it again. And so this week's announcement is kind of interesting. One of the games that's leaving, if I'm not mistaken, is Dead Rising 2. And one of the games that's coming in is Dead Rising 4. So anyway, a bunch of new games coming in. They go across PC and console. Some are on both, which is really cool, including Dead Rising 4, by the way. And so that's neat. And then Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Game with Gold. It's weird. I can't have trouble differentiating those. Obviously, 4 new games every month. 2 are available now. One of them is one of the best games I've ever played. It's called Inside. And it is a terrible ending, but the whole game is fantastic. And if you have an Xbox Live Gold subscription, go get this game for free. It's amazing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, really creepy atmospheric game. It's incredible. The other thing that's happening in Xbox Game Pass is Microsoft had announced, I guess it was last week, that 11 indie games, which is part of that ID at Xbox program, are coming to that service. And I believe those will also be console plus PC or console and or PC. And some of those will be coming this month and are, in fact, part of this bigger announcement that they made just yesterday. So that's all cool. Lots of new stuff. Every month we get new games. That's neat. The little bit of bad news is Cuphead, which is closely approaching its 2nd anniversary. I think it was released September-ish of 2017. Last summer, in fact, it was just a year ago this past week, they announced the first DLC release, which is like an expansion pack or whatever. What is it called? It's got some crazy name. The Delicious Last Course. Mary Jo will appreciate the fact that there's now going to be a female playable character. Whose name is something hilarious. Oh, Miss Chalice.
She's
unfortunately. Yeah. That expansion pack has been delayed until 2020. So it was supposed to come out sometime this year. Now it's going to come out sometime next year. So they must have like 3 people at this company or something. I don't know what's taking so long for this one game. But
the game itself took a lot longer than they said it would.
Yeah. It was. In fact, I believe Microsoft had to infuse them with capital to keep it going, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, it's obviously been very well received. It's sold very well. It's incredibly hard to play, but
it's the hardest game I've ever played. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Well, Shadow of the Beast was pretty damn close. Back on the Amiga, in the late 80s, whenever that was. But yeah, it's a really hard game. So that's it. That's all the Xbox stuff.
We talked on the
Twit. Wasn't too bad.
No, it was easy. We talked on Twit about the coming Microsoft book Apocalypse. And has it started? Have they started deleting your ebooks?
It started and it's ended, Leo. So earlier this year they announced that they were getting rid of the ebook store. They never should have started. They announced they'd be giving full refunds to anyone who had purchased a book. If you actually took notes in a book, which you could do digitally using a pen, or I guess you could do it with the keyboard too. They'll actually give you a $25 credit per book that you took notes in.
But your notes are gone, right?
Yeah, that's all gone. Wow. And as of July 1st, it is literally all gone. So back, I don't know if it was April or so, they announced they were doing this. They set the time frame. They said they would give refunds. Last week, they emailed people who had purchased books and said your refunds will come sometime in July. It's already started. In fact, I think the first refunds actually started coming out on July 1st.
Oh, nice.
And I have already received an $11 refund for Neil Stephenson's. In the beginning, there was the command line.
Wow.
Which I purchased to use as examples and screenshots for the book.
Oh, good idea, actually. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Can they revoke your screenshots?
Could they? Yeah. Well, they don't matter anymore, right? So that part of the book has been taken out. It's not in the book anymore because the store is gone. So.
Oh, I see. Screenshots for the store. Yeah, I thought for the command line.
No, that's for the book. I mean, for the book
makes
itself.
Sense. Yeah. And what about we actually haven't talked about it, but I was curious what you thought about Corel being sold to Kohlberg, Kravis, and Roberts, a big investment company.
So here's so this is interesting, right? So this is reported in, where was it? Not VentureBeat.
TechCrunch, was it?
TechCrunch. And I believe only in that one location, whatever it is.
Oh.
And so it could be announced as soon as today. I guess, officially we'll see. But supposedly for north of $1 billion. And, we have a friend there, Gerard, who's been on the show and watches the show, and we've interviewed him. And, Corel is a privately held company. And, of course, Corel.
Well, this is a long and tragic and tattered story because they went public.
Yeah.
Picked a bad time to go public.
Yep.
Like 1999. And then they bought it back. Then they went public again, and it picked a bad time around about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Well, but
then they bought it back. So they've taken it public and private twice.
Just like Steve Jobs' next company, it all ends well.
It does, because they made a lot of money.
Yeah, the $1 billion is significantly north of the $190 million that was spent on Corel twice to bring it private. And so the interesting thing about Corel, you know, I kind of don't appreciate this, but every time if I write anything about Corel, I always get people on Twitter in the comments. I go, Corel, I didn't even know those guys were still around.
Yeah.
You know, Corel actually owns an amazing range of IP, and they own things like
Corel Draw,
WinZip,
right, is big. They own WinZip, which is wild.
WordPerfect.
Yeah.
You know,
they've owned WordPerfect since they bought Novell ages ago, and then they bought Parallels recently, like last year, right?
Yeah. So. This company has actually built an incredible stable of products. And honestly, seriously, as a Microsoft fan or a Windows fan or whatever, you got to appreciate a company that, you know, I know they have a Mac version of CorelDRAW now, but I mean, they're like one of the few major third-party Windows developers out in the world. I mean, we should appreciate the fact that they're still around. And these guys, you know, originally were fighting with Microsoft over the word processing market. And Novell had purchased WordPerfect. Corel purchased it from Novell, and I don't remember the time frames on those things, but it's still around. Like this thing, they still support it. And so I meant during my Bill Gates rant last week, I was talking about referencing companies, most of which I didn't name, but a bunch of companies like Lotus and Borland and Ashton Tate and WordPerfect Corp or whatever that don't exist anymore, and their products are all wiped off the face of the earth. You can go try to find them; they're not there. But WordPerfect's still there, folks. So, you know, give them a little credit for that. I think that's actually pretty cool. So I get good for them. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I expect some kind of official confirmation or announcement from them shortly, but it looks like good news.
So yeah, I think this is that's interesting, and I hope they don't mess with it. KKR, you know, is kind of a private equity firm, but so was their previous owner, Vector Capital. So it's not kind of too much of a change. But
no, in fact, they want to expand. I think what they want is for Corel to buy more of those kinds of products and companies and expand on that stable of products.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. Is WordPerfect still exist?
Yep. You can buy it today.
I used to love. I never was a big WordPerfect on the PC fan, but I did really like WordPerfect on the Mac. It was the best word processor ever on the Mac. I've
used WordPerfect for DOS, right, and that with all the weird control codes and all that. I used WordPerfect on an Amiga, and WordPerfect coming to the Amiga for about 6 seconds legitimized the platform, and then they left. But they were late to Windows. And I don't remember the exact politics of it, but I don't remember if they supported OS2 instead of Windows or whatever it was. But by the time they showed up on Windows, it was still the early 1990s, but it was, you know, they blew it, and that was the beginning of the end for them. They backed the wrong horse.
So this is a website at Columbia University.
Oh, jeez.
WordPerfect for DOS updated, thanks to the Patterson in the chat room. New printer drivers,
this is amazing.
Windows, modern Windows, and Mac OS. I got to download this.
So you should go look at my site, because today I put shots up. I installed MS-DOS, and I was playing with QBasic or QBasic, I guess. And using a full screen DOS editor is the greatest writing experience in the world. It is the greatest.
There's all these apps now essentially emulating that with, what do they call it, focused mode.
Yeah. No, but you know what? But it's bitmapped, right? Like I actually there was something really cool about the crisp cleanness.
Yes.
Yeah, and by the way, even virtualized, it's super fast.
Yeah.
And of course I know it's bitmapped, but there was something about that text screen thing. And by the way, for the 3 or 4 programmers who might be listening to this, who might be old enough to remember this, one of the very coolest things you could do in the early 90s was when Microsoft's developer tools moved into Windows, and so you finally were in a graphical environment for creating programs that ran in Windows, you could attach an old-fashioned EGA or whatever they were called monitor, like a amber screen, green screen, whatever, and you could debug on that second screen. And that was the greatest thing in the world, like the greatest thing in the world. And I'm old and I miss those days.
Well, a lot of people, Paul, use command lines kind of for that reason. Terminals.
I get it.
Command lines. It's very snappy. It's very fast. In fact, there are a lot of adherents of, and this is really kind of retro, using Linux with something like i3, which is a basically command line full screen desktop manager, and it's so you put it panes, but they're not.
Is it called Desk View?
It's like, it looks like Desk View. It looks exactly like Desk View. And a lot of people seriously say, well, this is fast, it's quick, and it's fast, so it's quick. And that's about all you can say for it. But I was looking, there's a browser you can use, W3M, I think it is, that it's a text-based browser, but it'll show images. There's like all this stuff you can do.
Wow.
And I was actually considering this briefly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about Emacs. I mean, this falls into
Emacs,
the
same thing.
world. I mean, it's yeah, I get it. I get it. And when I see this stuff, looking at the stuff again for the first time in a long time, I was like, oh God, this stuff, it's just amazing.
Apparently people are still running WordPerfect for the Mac.
Oh,
you have to do it in emulation, which is pretty funny. That's pretty devoted. It was the best.
Well,
word
maybe
processor.
You have a bunch of old files and
and this actually would convert it over because they also write StockX.
Right.
Let's take a little time out, if you don't mind, and then we'll get to the back of the book. Unless you guys have something else you want to bring up. Have we ready to move on?
I think we're ready.
All right. I want to tell you about our advertiser then. Our show is brought to you today by Worldwide Technology. I almost see, remember the old RKO logo where it had a globe and then a radio transmitter? Worldwide Technology, but they really are worldwide, and they've been around for a couple of decades now. And they're nothing like RKO. They are state of the art. In fact, they're just about to complete the next generation of their ATC, their Advanced Technology Center. They started that about 10 years ago, kind of in response to the fact that remember Ziff Davis had its PC, the PC Magazine labs. They had the big labs in. They were great in Foster City. Jim Latterback, I think, ran them. Patrick Norton worked there.
Yep.
It was a great, because that's where you would, for all the Ziff Davis publications, you could test 100 printers, or you could set up a whole network, a Novell network or Token Ring network, and test it. That's what they're doing, only, of course, it's no longer Token Ring and Novell. Worldwide Technologies, ATC, is like no other testing and research lab. It's really taken up the slack from these old publications. This lab contains more than $500 million in equipment, $500 million in equipment, hundreds of OEMs, ranging from heavyweights like Cisco, NetApp, and VMware to emerging disruptors like Tanium, Equinix, and Expanse. So if you are an IT guy or an enterprise and you're looking for new stuff and you're thinking, how's this going to integrate with our current stuff? You got to love WWT. Worldwide Technology is a trusted partner. People stay with them year after year after year because it's a relationship. A whole bunch of their customers have been with them for over a decade. They know that WWT is where they can go get the answers they need to make sure their business is running right and will continue to do so. And they can ask the questions, how's this going to work? This Advanced Technology Center has become an incubator for IT innovation. It offers hundreds of, to you, by the way, hundreds of on-demand integrated solutions labs representing the newest advances in flash storage, software-defined networking, network automation, endpoint security architecture, things like that. Stuff that would be very hard to trial in your environment and expensive. You can get the whole sense of it at the ATC. You can learn about products before you launch them. And, of course, WWT's engineers use these environments so they can spin up proof of concepts and pilots. They are doing it in a sandbox so customers can say, hey, that works, and they can choose the best solution, reducing the time from concept to release from months to weeks. They also offer, and this is the part that I think is really exciting, to you, their customer, lab as a service, a dedicated lab space within the ATC where you can perform programmatic testing using the vast technology ecosystem WWT's already built. And bring in the new stuff that you want to try out. It's virtual, too, so you can take full advantage of ATC's unique benefits anywhere in the world, 24/7. They know it works because their own engineers have worked in these labs every day, beta testing new equipment, building reference architectures, and, of course, custom integrations, because it's one of the other things WWT does for their customers. They'll do the full integration. So you can make decisions before you buy, see results faster, and with much less investment, prepare for the next big thing. Later this summer, WWT is going to launch an all-new digital platform with hands-on access to more than 200 lab environments. This is something you want to know more about. Go to wwt.com/twit. Learn more about what Worldwide Technology can do for you. Learn more about their Advanced Technology Center. And if you want, sign up for that pre-launch for this new on-demand lab platform. You'll get first access to it. Say dibs, wwt.com/twit. WWT simplifies the complex. wwt.com/twit. WWT delivering business and technology outcomes around the world. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. We thank you for supporting Windows Weekly by going to wwt.com/twit. And now Paul Thurrott.
It's all choked up.
I'm all excited. And our tip of the week. Tip of the week. Paul, it's the tip of the week.
Is he frozen?
It's the tip. Hello, Paul.
He said Skype just crashed.
The tip of the week.
Oh. We could switch order. I could do enterprise pick while he's getting.
Unfortunately, the entire engineering crew is in the conference room eating Chinese food. Wait a minute, I don't ever use this, but let me try it. That's the emergency engineer button. Let's see if anything will happen. Emergency.
Does it like buzz them in their belt loop? Like,
yeah, it's supposed to. I think that the Chow Fun is way too good today.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What the hell? Hey, Paul. Paul.
Paul.
I know it'll work. This always works. This is always going to work.
Vuvuzela.
Didn't work. Hey, congratulations to the U.S. women's soccer team. Yay!
Woot, woot, woot.
They're going to the finals.
Yeah, Sunday's going to be good.
Isn't that exciting?
It is.
I couldn't watch yesterday because I was working, but I did watch the France game. Man, that was good.
Yeah, yesterday was good, too.
Wow. Oh, man. Did Rapinoe ever go in?
No, she never did.
They let her out, left her.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, good. Now my phone can keep ringing. This is the new thing it does. I have one phone, and it the notification gets stuck, and I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what happened. The Skype app.
You didn't miss anything. We just were talking about soccer, your favorite sport. So.
Yeah, and Megan Rapinoe.
Boom.
Oh boy.
Boom, boom went the dynamite. So Paul Thurrott's tip of the week. Let's try it again. Paul?
What I was going to say before the internet hung up on me.
Yes.
I don't have any app picks this week, but I do have 3 tips.
Okay.
So the first tip is that anyone listening to this podcast should consider joining the various Insider programs that Microsoft has. Everyone knows about the Windows Insider program. They probably have heard of at least a couple of the other ones. There's one for Xbox, one for Office, and so forth. But now Microsoft has a new hub website that links to all of their Insider programs. And it is called the Microsoft Insiders website. Of course it is. And what is it? I'm sorry. What is the URL for this site? It is just insider.microsoft.com. And so you'll see a nice grid of all the Insider programs. You can go check them out, and it gives you links so you can go sign up for each one of those. So whichever of those there's a bunch of them. Bing has one. Visual Studio Code has one. They all have different ways of doing things. Obviously, Microsoft Edge has one now that they're moving to Chromium and so forth.
It's basically beta testing. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what's missing?
Bing is like Bing Rewards, or is it different than Bing Rewards?
No, it's different. Bing Rewards is a thing as well, but it is different.
Okay.
You know what's missing? There's one Insider program they forgot. M365.
So actually, I mentioned that. I mentioned that in the article, and if you go to that site no longer exists.
Huh.
Oh, really?
Huh. Yeah, it redirects to the Windows Insider.
That's interesting.
What do you think that means?
Yeah, it means that team I was talking about has their work cut out for them.
Well, I think they got discovered by the Walking Cat or whatever, and they had to redirect because they're not ready.
Oh, really? Huh. Funny.
Yeah, that's my guess, but it's gone, yeah. Let's see. Oh, and then last week I mentioned Firefox with regards to tracking protection. Since that show, Microsoft has added tracking protection formally to the new Edge, although you have to enable the feature through Edge flags. So if you go into edge : or sorry, I guess it's just, how do you do it? Yeah, edge : / flags, search for tracking. You'll see a tracking protection option. Turn it on. And then when you go into settings, I should probably just load the browser and look at it. But if you go into settings, I believe it's the privacy settings. Sorry. Privacy and services. You will see a new tracking prevention section that gives you basic, balanced, and strict. This is the UI. Well, it actually doesn't look exactly like it, but it's literally what they showed off at Build. And they said they were going to add eventually to Edge. And so it is there now. You just have to enable it.
This is great.
Good. Yeah,
this is great.
That's not what it looks like, but that's exactly what it does. So that's what it will look like. But anyway, it's available today if you want it. And then the third one is slightly personal, but when Mary Jo was talking about everyone being happy about this 19H2 thing, this one is actually benefiting me personally because this is going to allow me to finally get completely caught up with the Windows 10 Field Guide. And it's also going to be the point in time where I cut off support for the book. And so I had published the first version of it 4 years ago this November. I think that's long enough for free updates. It's $10. I mean, and so I think going forward, what I'm going to do is have separate editions of the book for each version of Windows 10. And if you buy it today, you'll get updates through 19H2. So that $10 purchase will get you an up-to-date version of the book that will be good through at least early next year. And honestly, if you're on that 30-month support life cycle for the next 2 years after that. So not too bad for $10. But in the future, I'm going to do something different with the book. And I haven't just completely decided if I'm going to have a subscription version or whatever. But I think what I'm going to do is separate the book. So there'll be a version for 1903. There'll be a version for 19H2. And then there'll be a version for 20H1.
Last updated
existing
July
yesterday.
2nd. I'm impressed.
Yep. If we weren't recording this show right now, I would update it today. I've got another big update to come. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's very, very close to being completely up to date.
What a great deal
with the latest version.
That's a great deal for people.
I think it's good you finally gave yourself an end date, like end of extended support.
I kind of stressed over this for a long time.
No, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think when I first started doing it, I was thinking, I don't know, maybe 2 years, and then it was like, oh, maybe 3 years.
That's a lot.
But the problem is they release so many updates. It's hard to keep it up to date. So right now, as of today, though, it's pretty damn close. It's only a couple of chapters away from being completely up to date with the 1903.
Nice. Wow, I didn't know you were an award-winning technology journalist and blogger.
I am an award-winning technology journalist. I have that award right there. So
what a guy.
I can pull it out if you want to see it. It's like a tombstone. In fact, maybe I will use it as my tombstone.
That was the intent, probably. Enterprise pick of the week, Mary Jo Foley.
Yes, we're going to do another book pick. This one is the Office 365 for IT pros. I call it a Bible. It's a Bible. It's huge. It's like 1,000 pages or something. The 2020 edition of this just came out this week. There are five or six different authors / editors. Tony Redmond, our friend from Petri.com.
I know at least 3 of those guys. Brian Desmond.
I'm sure you do. Yep. Paul Robichaux, Yep. So if you do anything, you're an IT pro, you do anything with Office 365, you really should have this book. It's pretty comprehensive, and they update it every single month with new content because things are always changing with Office 365. The deal here is for Windows Weekly listeners, they're cutting $10 off the $49.95 cover price. The way to get it is there's a special code. I can read the URL, but we'll also put it in the show notes. It's Gumroad, GUMROAD.com/I/O365IT/Windows Weekly.
Good luck.
It's long. I know. Yeah. It's a long code. But yeah, if you use that, they've got a special code and you will get it for $39.95. So you got a deal on your hands there. I actually got a complimentary copy of this from Tony, and it's like the field guide. It has everything.
Yeah, it has. It's more than a field guide. If you don't mind me interjecting real quick on this, when I talked to Tony back in June in Washington D.C.
Yeah,
he was the impetus for the changes I'm now making.
Oh, really?
And it's been something I've been thinking about this for a long, long time. And he said, you really should go to a subscription version, and that will probably be part of it. I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but the way he sells this book is very interesting. And the way that they update it is incredible. And like I think you said, they update it every month.
They do.
And it's amazing. So it's an awesome book.
Nice. Good recommendation.
Yeah. If you were doing Office 365 commercial, you need to get the book.
Yeah, you do.
Sorry to shoehorn it on your.
No,
your tip,
it's good. I'm glad you could give it some backing. Yeah.
And now the codename pick of the week.
Yeah. So we've talked about M365 a lot on the show today, and so the codename pick of the week is related to this. It's M365FX. So if you know Microsoft at all, FX is usually their shorthand for framework, like .NET FX. But in this case, FX is not representing the word framework. It's actually foundational experiences. There's that foundational word again. And I've been asking around what that means. So it's an EPIC thing. Remember, EPIC was the codename of the week a while back. Essential Products Inclusive Community. That's Joe Belfiore's team. So M365FX is something from EPIC that has to do with separating Windows Core OS from the shell. So, if you followed along with all the intrigue around what's going on with Santorini and Windows Lite, you know that Microsoft is trying to get this off the ground where they have Windows Core OS and then all these different shells for their different products. So this M365FX is related to them going further and actually starting to do this work. The way I found out about this codename was from someone named Albacore on Twitter. His handle is The Book Is Closed, and he is somehow, I don't know if he was affiliated with Microsoft or still is in some way, but he, like the Walking Cat, has a lot of good tips if you want to follow somebody who looks deep into the code like Raph and the Walking Cat and tries to figure things out. So he came up with the little badge in a tweet on his site that has EPIC and M365FX when he's talking about some of the code he's starting to see in Windows that has to do with the shell being separated from Core OS.
Cool.
Getting closer, everyone. Finally, Windows Core OS. We've been writing and talking about this forever, and it seems like it's finally about to happen.
Would you say it's epic?
I'm saying it's epic. Yeah.
There you go.
I am.
Oh, I feel really stupid. What is it?
I have a little mouse cursor on my head.
Let me get
cute.
the red button again.
It's like a zit I can't pop.
It's like a bindi.
You know what? I need a beer. Do you need a beer?
Yes.
Mary Jo Foley's got a beer.
I think it's time.
Yes.
It's time.
It's time.
So this week here in the U.S., it's the 4th of July. So a lot of people immediately think of things like Pilsners or lagers or
vuvuzelas.
Bud.
Wrong Americas, Leo.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Or vuvuzelas.
Yeah.
But I would like to suggest, if you're looking for a beer for the 4th, go with an American IPA. And I picked one for you, Cigar City High Lie.
Oh, there's nothing
really
more
easy
American than High Lie. I'll tell you that.
Nothing
right
more
now.
American than High Lie.
I think there are vuvuzelas at highlight matches.
Yeah, I bet there are.
Right, there are.
Have you ever seen a highlight match? It's only played in Florida, right?
I've only seen the version they
way?
played on the first Battlestar Galactica.
You have a paddle, a thing that's a hooked basket.
Like a lacrosse racket, kind of.
But it's a basket and it'll hold the ball and you fling it.
Remember they used to sell for kids a plastic version of that, and the ball, as you kind of threw it, it would give a little.
We played that as kids. Yeah. Trackball.
I don't remember. Yeah, is that the name of it? I don't remember the name, but I think that was based on a high-lie.
Yeah, that's
what's
probably
that thing
true.
called? A racket? What is the name of that? I don't even know.
Whatever it is.
Knows. I don't. It was a big sport for a while, and I think it's honestly
kind of gone away.
I think it's.
Well, it makes sense. You said Florida, right? So Cigar City is based in Florida.
That's why.
That's maybe why they called this High Lie.
I think its brief bout with success had something to do with the cocaine train, if I'm not mistaken. But there is some weird history there where a lot of those guys were investing in highlight teams and stuff.
It's weird. It's sort of like lacrosse, except you throw it against the wall, right?
It's very strange. I think people, honestly, it was like greyhound racing. It was really all about betting.
Oh, probably.
It doesn't matter like how old the video is. This is obviously from the 70s.
Yeah.
I highlight.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much gone. This video title is The Rise and Fall of Highlight. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you the highlight of the beer has not fallen. In fact, it's still just as good as it's always been. 7.5%, a really nice IPA, 70 IBU, so hoppy, but not crazy. And you could drink it for your holiday beer, perhaps.
Nice.
Just a suggestion.
In
APA,
cans.
American IPA.
In cans somewhere near you. Yes. You've mentioned Cigar City before. I think that
I have. I like their beers a lot.
Yeah. Nice. Are
I
you
like
going
the
to
color
go
of the
to
can.
IPA Fest in Brooklyn on September 14th?
Oh, it wouldn't be surprising if I did.
You should drag Paul. Make him.
Oh, she's probably leading the parade, like what, like you have like a crown in your head and a torch or something.
I am the queen of Indian Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, Leo, did this one record, or do we have to?
Oh crap!
To do it over again.
Oh no! Yes, it did. I had him go out and buy 4 pancakes of tape, so I think we'll be good.
Nice.
We do this show every single Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That would be 1800 UTC. If you want to watch or listen live, you could do that at twit.tv/live. We always have a live stream going for people who like that. And actually, a lot of the people who like that are in the chat room. That they like to listen live and interact live. And that's at irc.twit.tv. If you want to download on-demand versions of anything we do, they're all at the website, twit.tv. In this case, twit.tv/ww. It'll take you right to Windows Weekly. But I want to encourage you all to subscribe. That's the best way to make sure you have every episode available the minute you need it. So that Thursday morning commute comes along, you go, oh, I forgot to download Windows Weekly. No, I didn't. My podcast app got it all. It's a nice way to listen. Thank you. And of course, your Echo and your Cortana, and you just ask them to play Windows Weekly podcast, and usually that'll work. Paul Thurrott is at Thurrott.com, and don't forget that field guide to Windows 10. Still $9.99. Does anybody ever slide that slider over and pay $25?
Yes. I don't sit there and kind of monitor that, but every once in a while, someone will actually email me to say that they had done that.
Yeah, I would do that. Support Paul.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Just a tip. It's like giving him a little tip.
Sure.
He works hard on
bags
this
up
thing.
to the room, whatever.
Leanpub.com. That's the place to get it. Field Guide to Windows 10. You'll also get all his writing at Thurrott.com. And another case where subscribing to the premium version is well worth it. You're doing this great. I love this new series you're doing, by the way, for old folks.
The tale grew in the telling, Leo. I knew it was going to be. I knew it was going to be big, but it's actually going to be bigger than I thought.
So what are you doing? What's the most recent?
So what I've gotten through is the beginning days of Windows API programming, but now I'm going back and doing DOS. Not DOS. I'm sorry, Basic and Visual Basic. Then I'm going to do C++ and MFC. Nice. And then once I get past that, then we get into .NET and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff to come.
Perfect guy to write this. I'm thrilled. It's kind of Paul Thurrott's Programming Windows series. Well, if nothing else, get the premium for that. But there's lots of
I should say just so people just not to turn off some people. It's not going to teach you how to program Windows.
It's a history,
but it's rather an alternate way to look at the history of Windows. By the things that influenced developer tools, things that were happening in industry, things that competitors were doing, et cetera, et cetera. You can sort of see the things that were going on with Windows reflected in what Microsoft was pushing for developers at that time.
I got the mobile site here. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the mobile site.
Here, yeah. All right. Well, it's in here somewhere. Thurrott.com.
It is. Yeah.
There's lots of stuff, as you can see, including the fabulous Brad Sams. Mary Jo Foley, she is at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her ZDNet blog, and that's all we need to say about that.
That is.
Have you been approached
no series
about like a cat podcast or a beer podcast?
Oh, beer podcast every once in a while, but I want to hold out and see the right thing.
Hold out for the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you find it, in the words of Queen Bey, put a ring on it. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes. I don't know. That concludes this episode of Windows Weekly. We will see you again next time. Paul, Mary Jo, enjoy your 4th of July. You're going to do fireworks? New York has great fireworks.
Probably.
Leo, I live in Pennsylvania, so there are fireworks every single day of my life. The volume of fireworks are slightly higher around the 4th.
Oh, that's right, yeah. You know, Alex Lindsay grew up in rural Pennsylvania. Yeah. And he talks about his uncle.
Surprised they have any trees left.
Yeah. His uncle's three-knuckled Joey. He had a little mishap. They used to set up grandstand bleachers in the cornfield.
Sure.
And do their own show.
So Mary Jo will appreciate, like, when you drive north from Massachusetts and enter New Hampshire, the first thing you see on the border are liquor stores.
Yeah.
Right. And those are back from the days when, you couldn't buy alcohol on Sundays and the blue laws and everything. So Pennsylvania is exactly like that, except when you drive into Pennsylvania, what you see are fireworks stores.
Because there's nothing illegal in Pennsylvania?
No. I'm pretty sure you could buy a shoulder-mounted rocket if you needed it here. It's unbelievable.
This is good.
Yeah. No, I'm talking big stuff. Like, it's not little sparklers and stuff.
We have that in this area. You go to Chinatown in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And apparently, once you enter the confines of Grant Avenue, anything goes.
Nice.
And they're hanging there right next to the chickens. By the way, the word of the week, fronton.
Fronton?
Fronton. That is the arena in which Highlight is played.
Oh, very good. What's the name of the racket thing, though? What, do we know?
I want to say
the basket or something.
I don't know. Anybody in the chat room know? Highlight racket.
I'm looking at it.
I bet they call it a basket. That's my guess.
Yeah. It's called a cesta, C-E-S-T-A. Oh, it's a Basque game. It comes from the Basque game of pelota.
Yep. The racket is zesta.
Zesta. Yep. Which comes, it's the game in Basque, in the Basque tongue is zesta punta. The point of the basket. Or you can have a cestera.
Eventually, I think people realize, like, you can bet without exerting so much energy.
That's, I think, what happened. Let's go watch the dogs. This is exhausting.
Yeah.
Paul, Mary Jo, have a great 4th. We'll see you next week.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
You too. Have a great one.
Thank you. See you next time on Windows Weekly.